Florida Congressman and member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Brian Mast. And what we're talking about, of course, Congressman, is the president's gaffes. He has this tendency. I've always said that the time he talked about a minor incursion was a conversation they may have had elsewhere in the White House, and then it became public, and that was bad. And then this, you might talk about regime change behind closed doors, but as the president saying that publicly, that hurts you. What do you think is going on?
No, you used probably one of the most pivotal phrases that he used to frame how the White House was actually looking at this war, and then how they're actually looking at other policy across the globe, whether it be China and Taiwan or Iran policy or North Korean policy. Can they frame something as a minor incursion or a major incursion? They're willing to split those hairs. That tells foreign intelligence agencies so much about how the Biden administration is looking at the globe, which is not in a way that leads to any sort of Chinese deterrence or de-escalation in terms of their posture with Taiwan or against the United States of America or anything else. It is just continued Biden dominoes of weakness that keep falling down.
You know, the peace talks happening between Ukraine and Russia just finished. President Macron of France was concerned. He flat out said that what President Biden said in reference to possible regime change, although he didn't use those words, would interrupt or would be a deterrent to these peace talks. Ukraine outlined their proposal for accepting what they're referring to as a neutral status for the country, demanding binding security guarantees at the same time from the U.S. and some other European countries. Do you know anything else about, you know, how the peace talks went? What is your thought on that?
Yeah, so you look at these peace talks, and there's opinion and there's fact of what's going on. Now, one of the things that's just not being discussed realistically right now, which anybody would say is common sense, is how much is Russia going to pay for every life lost, every mother that was killed, every child that was killed, every person in Ukraine that was killed from their literal invasion of the Ukraine? What about the replacement of all of the infrastructure that they destroyed, the buildings, the roads, anything else? Those are things that are not even being talked about right now. And if anybody thinks that Russia's going to give up a ruble or a pound sterling or a euro or gold bullion or anything else, you know, they're not. They're not offering this up, nor leaving the regions. It's become more speculative that they're looking to make this more an East and West Germany type scenario, or maybe a North Korea, South Korea type scenario, and that they're looking for with those Donbass regions and others. Just not the right place to be truly negotiating for peace as that aggressor.
Do you believe Biden is trying to negotiate for peace?
I think Biden is doing his best to
I'm sorry, I should say I misspoke. I misspoke. Of course, our president would want peace. Do you think Putin, I misspoke, do you think he is actually somebody who is negotiating for peace, or is he using this as a tactic to delay and strengthen his forces? Can you even trust what Putin is saying?
I'm still going to go back and answer what you said originally about Biden.
Fair enough.
I mean, I think it's a valid question because have we been involved enough in the peace talks?
Yeah. That's
I don't think we've been involved enough.
That's true.
I think he's just trying to not have to take an opinion or a direction in any kind of way. That's where you see him going out there and having a gaffe, saying that Putin shouldn't remain in power. But just before that, he was saying that Putin is a war criminal. And then in the days after that, you have everybody from the administration going out there and saying, no, listen, our boss didn't mean what he said. I think really he's just trying not to take any kind of meaningful position. And that is what this definition of weakness really is. If your people go out there, or let's bring this back to myself. If I made a statement and my staff go out for the next week trying to say, no, the congressman didn't mean what he said, what could look more weak than that actually happening? Me saying, no, I can't speak for myself.
Right.
That's what the president is doing on the world stage over and over. Now, to the question about Vladimir Putin, is this a delay tactic for him? I think everything is a tactic for him. He is a tactician. I think he looks at this and says, okay, I can get people at the table. I can hear it is, what it is that they want to say. But in the end, again, does he have any intention of giving 1 ruble or euro or anything else to rebuild the Ukraine? Absolutely not. Should Ukraine be allowed to have any alliances that they want, whether with NATO or anybody else? Absolutely. Is he going to allow that for Ukraine? No. Does he want to have annexed regions just like Crimea? Absolutely, he does. Should that be something that is allowed? No. And I've offered my opinion many times saying this is how the West should start negotiation. No Putin in power. Russian nuclear demilitarization because their elevated nuclear posture, demilitarized zones along all Russian borders, return of Crimea, return of Ukraine. Those should be the minimums that Europe, EU, and the West are looking at to say to Vladimir Putin. That's my opinion.
What kind of off-ramp does that give Putin, though?
Some people ask that rightly. Well, Putin would never agree to that. Listen, if we have not learned anything from Donald Trump, it needs to be start negotiating from a position of strength. Not let's start the talks with some place that maybe we'll get to down the road, because then you're not even going to get to that point. You're going to end up even further down the road. You need to start the negotiations from the strongest possible position. That has to be lesson one from President Trump.
All right, Congressman Brian Mast, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you. All the best.